If attacking you would be automatically deadly to your enemies, you might lead a charmed life, free from worry. Such an easygoing atmosphere might make you grow complacent. Things that were once important to survival become optional. And why bother when you're a tiny, clumsy, and brightly colored frog like the pumpkin toadlet? But when you've found something that works, you might as well take it easy for the rest of your life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. It is greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on. If you would like to donate, just visit patreon.com/ldtaxonomy or click donate on our website.
And today we're talking about a pumpkin spiced tic-tac-toad. But more on that later.
That's good. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably better than all of mine. So just go ahead and do the nicknames too. I'm
No.
I'm giving that section to you.
I don't want it.
But we are talking about the pumpkin toadlet. It's that time of year. It's the pumpkin spice time of year.
It's almost not, but it is still.
Do you like pumpkin spice stuff?
Oh man, it depends. I'll have like one or two.
It sounded like you were gonna have like a really hard like take on it, and then it was just about as middle of the road as humanly possible. Oh man, it depends.
Well, because I just had tonight pumpkin spiced ravioli.
Oh.
And my thought was this didn't need to be pumpkin spiced. It's pretty good ravioli.
You're darn right.
The pumpkin spice did not add. It maybe potentially detracted a little. Yeah.
That sounds unpleasant. I don't.
But a pumpkin
really
is a
like...
squash, essentially. So
But
it could go either
spice.
way.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's not like I'm gonna spit it out, but I would definitely prefer coffee that did not have pumpkin spice flavoring in it.
At Dunkin' Donuts, I will get like one pumpkin spice latte in a season, but it's butter pecan time for the rest of the season.
Butter pecan is an objectively better flavor. Yeah, there are objective levels to flavor, and that one ranks above it. I
like
cosmic
pumpkin
scale.
spice in pumpkin pies. That's good.
Sure. I don't it's not pumpkin spice. It's like pumpkin extract or something like that, or just straight up like pulverized pumpkin.
Apparently, if you hear pumpkin spice, what it actually means is the spices that would be used in a pumpkin pie.
Really?
I thought
it doesn't taste like
there
pumpkin
might
at
be
all.
variation. There might be variation in the definition, but some places you'll get a pumpkin spiced thing, and it doesn't taste like a pumpkin. It just is the spices that would go in a pumpkin pie.
I don't.
But
think
some
it tastes
places
like
it tastes like a pumpkin. Yeah.
I don't think it tastes anything like a pumpkin, so I can totally believe that. Anyway, we're not talking about a pumpkin or a pie or a latte. We're talking about a toad. A little toad. A toadlet.
Not quite a toad.
Not almost a toad.
Barely a toadlet.
75% toad. It is also known as the pumpkin frog. Go figure. But we're going to call it the Nomalius todalis, which will make sense later. The Fanta frog. Even though
Don't you want to?
Even though wasn't Fanta like invented by the Nazis, so not a
Was
Nazi
it?
frog. I think it was. And the pint-sized Piner. Chris Piner. And they already made that joke in the Pinocchio remake, and it did not go well. But let's taxonomize this little toadlet, shall we? It's in a kingdom you know, love, and are in. That kingdom is Animalia. The phylum is Chordata. The class is Amphibia. It's an amphibian. The order is Anura. That is a true frog. The family is Brachycephalidae. The genus is Brachycephalus. And the species is Ephipium. Brachycephalus, Ephipium. This one's kind of fun to say. I like it. There's long words, but they flow well. And also no double vowels, which is just a blessing from the heavens. The linguistic heavens. But since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show and what makes up half of the listeners' favorite part of the show at this point, nitty-gritty nomenclature. Thank you for voting for what is truly the greatest segment on this show. This is the part of the show where I ask Joe a question, and that is, what is the English translation to the nomenclature, the binomial nomenclature? It's good because it links directly to the name of this show, the taxonomy. So we have Brachycephalus Ephipium. What does that mean? Does it mean A, tiny bumpy leaf, B, orange humpback, C, small-headed frog, or D, short-head saddle?
Short-necked buzzard. Short-head saddle. Final answer.
Blazing saddle, because it's orange. That is correct.
Ooh.
Short-headed saddle. I mean, the cephalus gives it away. It's a head. But brachy means short.
There's kind of like coloration on the back of some of them that kind of looks like a saddle, so that's why I thought that.
Oh, really? And that might be what the naturalist was thinking when he named it. Look, it's got a little cute little saddle on it.
I'm looking at pictures. It is a stinky little guy. It's triggering the part of my brain that's like, it's cute and I have to kill it. You know?
Oh, I was like, does it look like it smells? Does he look like a smelly boy? He doesn't look smelly. He looks adorable. And he's very orange. So let's bring that right into the description.
Well, speaking of very orange, you're right. Fanta was a Coca-Cola alternative in 1941 Germany.
They're the
because
same.
of the American trade embargo of Nazi Germany. So they had to come up with a different soda to drink, and they came up with Fanta.
They had to drink a soda. Germany had to drink a soda during World War II.
The current orange formulation was developed in Italy in 1955. So when you taste the orange Fanta, you're not tasting the flavor of fascism. Don't worry.
If you had a Fanta that tasted like cola, then it would be the flavor of fascism.
It was originally a quote-unquote fruit-flavored carbonated drink. So some sort of fruit it tasted like.
It just tastes like fruit, but it's spelled F-R-O-O-T. And in quotation marks.
No, F-R umlaut.
Yeah,
T.
F-R-U umlaut. Fruit. Interesting. But just because it was developed in Italy does not mean it does not have the flavor of fascism. That's for sure.
That's true. I forgot about that. But in 1955.
No, yeah.
1955.
They were better.
I don't know what was happening then.
They were better.
A decade later, they figured it out.
They were better at being Italy in 1955. All right. The pumpkin toadlet is bright orange or a little yellowish. It has a rough, bumpy texture on its skin, kind of like a squash rind. It is is so small, and it has got this squat body. It's a cartoon frog. It looks like a little pop figure of a frog. It has this slightly humped back, which is why I was trying to get you with the hunchback thing. It looks like it's carrying like a little backpack under its skin. It has these little underdeveloped toes, which is not usual for a frog, which usually has very large toes. Although toads tend to have smaller toes. Toads. But this one, the pumpkin toadlet, looks like it's doesn't have toes at all. Like it has just kind of a single nub sticking out, but there are toes there. And it's not great for jumping, that's for sure. They have fluorescent patches on their skin. Fluorescence is when cell molecules absorb light and then re-emit it at a longer wavelength. So it might absorb like red or yellow light, which is a short wavelength, and then re-emit it at like a blue or even like an ultraviolet wavelength. And this is a pretty rare trait. Land vertebrates almost never have fluorescent attributes. And it's even rarer for vertebrates on land to be able to see fluorescent light. So it is a bit of a mystery why they are able to why they have this and are presumably able to see it. Because another thing whenever it comes to like, can this animal see this, or does this animal see this frequency? It is a really hard thing to determine.
You can't ask them.
You can't ask them, and studies are often just hard to construct in a way that eliminates all other variables. So, I said it was tiny, but how tiny is it?
Well, welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listeners part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you sit in and audio yourself saying, singing, or chittering the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro this week, but that means we get to hear from an animal, and Carlos is to guess what it is.
It is certainly one of the parts of the show of all time.
Yeah, exactly right.
Toad, wake up! Toad, wake up! It's spring.
It's spring.
That's me.
That's
That's me when I'm woken up every morning. Yes,
you have all of the pieces of the puzzle given to you.
I really do.
There's actually one word you're missing.
Yeah, I'm missing one word. I don't think they said the word "and" in that. It is frog and toad.
Those are the characters, actually, but the name of the thing is Frog and Toad Are Friends.
I thought, but the book series is called Frog and Toad.
Yeah, this is the claymation television series.
But the character is Toad. So
maybe it's not a series. Maybe it's just the one video.
It is a book series. I read the books as a kid. I actually last week went to the mall and we walked through Books A Million, because they still have bookstores in certain parts of the country.
Wow.
And one of those parts is my part of the country, and we saw Frog and Toad. There was a startling percentage of that bookstore was dedicated to anime, so that I guess that's why it's still open. The people don't read books anymore; they read this.
It was startling, huh?
Yeah, I was. We walked through, and I was expecting to see. I caught my breath a little bit. I was fluttered. I got a little bit of a heart palpitation. at all the anime. I was like, look at all these characters that look exactly the same, except their hair is different.
Let's talk about snout to vent length before we alienate the weebs.
There, it's done. You did it.
Is weeb pejorative?
Very.
Is it?
Yeah. Maybe it's one of those things that like now we own the
It's
word,
our word
sort of thing. I don't know. I don't run in those circles. I don't run in any circles. My companions are children, and they don't care too much for anime yet.
Snout to vent length. It's 12.5 to 19.7 millimeters, or 0.49 to 0.78 inches. Do a 8 go into an ear of sweet corn, or a B 10 go into a sugar pumpkin, or C 1 go into a single King Charles Cavalier canine tooth?
They should call it pumpkin spice. They should call it sugar pumpkin. That sounds better. I would like a sugar pumpkin latte. That sounds way better than a pumpkin spice latte. And you still get to use P and S. Just swap.
Mm-hmm. SPLs.
Because PSL sounds like some sort of gun. It's like I'm shooting the PSL 9mm. Or it's PBR. It's just cheaper. I'm going to go with the corn. Ear of corn.
Final answer?
Yeah. I don't
The
feel
correct
great about
answer is B. 10
The
go into a
pumpkin.
sugar pumpkin.
A sugar pumpkin. I should have gone with that.
A sugar pumpkin is also called a pie pumpkin. It is a pumpkin specifically used for pumpkin pie. It's a more dense pumpkin and generally smaller than a carving pumpkin.
Sounds like it would be.
It's got more
sweeter,
pumpkin
too.
flesh.
It sounds like a character on the Proud Family.
Sugar pumpkin.
There's Sugar Mama. And there's Sugar Pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be like the name of the baby.
Name. Let's talk about weight. They're about a gram, or 0.035 ounces, proving an ounce is the largest thing in the universe. A, does one pumpkin toadlet go into the weight of a golf ball? B, one AAA battery, or C, one slice of white bread?
What was it? How many go into the AAA battery?
One. A
One
single
goes,
toadlet goes.
a
into
AAA
all
battery
of
being
these.
0.035 ounces. That can't be it.
An ounce is the largest thing in the universe.
But it's only it's not 0.35. It's 0.035. What was and the one goes
gram.
into a golf ball?
Mm-hmm.
A golf ball is way more than. That's at least an ounce. Bread. No, wait. Yes, bread. That's yeah.
Final answer?
Yes, bread.
The correct answer is C, one slice of bread.
Yes.
And it's a AA battery that's about a gram. So it's the other way.
A AAA battery
AAA
is
battery
less
is lighter than a gram.
0.035 ounces.
How
Is a
heavy?
AA battery. You could kill someone by throwing a AA battery at them. That's how heavy those things are.
It's a compact weight.
That's gotta be.
No, yeah, this ain't.
They've
right.
gotta be heavier than that.
How heavy is a AA? Yeah, I mean, it was wrong. At least it wasn't the right answer. It depends. A AA battery is way heavier. Yeah, it's not a gram. It's way heavier. It's like 2315. It depends on the kind of battery. Lithiums are lighter than alkalines.
Probably not by much, though.
And a AAA battery
All right.
is about 11 grams.
Yeah,
but that's all I got for that.
This is a really small boy. It reminds me of a frog that is indigenous to Puerto Rico, called the coqui.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes this like whistling sound that goes, which is, everyone's like, it's saying coqui. They just named it after what it says. Like this, I'm writing a nay. I'm feeding my oinks, and I'm gonna shear my boss. Just naming an animal after the thing it says. But they're so small and they only come out at night and they make this whistling sound and so whenever we would go to Puerto Rico and be at my grandma's house, I would spend like the whole evening going around the yard, going through these bushes, trying to find these tiny, tiny frogs. Never found one, not in the wild at least. But there's a lot. If you go, there's all of their like tourist stuff, the memorabilia, merchandise, all has the coqui on it. I think it's the national, not national, but the regional animal, quasi-state animal, Commonwealth animal.
Taxation without
yeah,
representation.
very tiny frog, and just couldn't find it. Yes, taxation without representation animal. Yes, that's right. 51 states. Make it happen.
If you want to really relate to the size, you could comfortably fit it on your thumbnail. That's how little it is.
Unless you were afraid of frogs, and then you would be very uncomfortable about it being on your thumbnail.
It would be uncomfortable if you were afraid of frogs.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, here's some fast facts before we get into the major fact. It is found in the mountainous rainforests of southeastern Brazil. It is in the Amazon rainforest, in the Amazon basin. It likes to hang out on the forest floors surrounded by leaf litter, where its orange coloration will blend in with the dead leaves. It feeds on small invertebrates, mostly ants and mites. And it has to keep an eye out for larger amphibians like frogs, and salamanders, also as reptiles like snakes and lizards, and it has to keep an eye out for birds, even though they have these bright warning colors saying like, hey, don't eat me. They are aposematically colored. I think that's the way that you say that. It's aposematism, which is being colored in a way that doesn't really camouflage you all that well, and more is it screams a warning that you are poisonous. And the pumpkin toadlet is poisonous. They are diurnal. They're active during the day, which is rare for amphibians in general. And they can live for 10 to 15 years in the wild. But it is hard to track these, because to really to measure one throughout its whole life, you would need to kind of capture it. You can't put a tracker in a frog that fits on your thumbnail. At least not yet. We haven't gotten the microchips down that size. But that is the estimate. So I will leave the rest to thee.
Okay.
I said.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit, so I didn't hear your toss. But yeah.
Yes, and
Yes, and here's the major fact. I'm calling it interfere. They have a tiny, tiny little inner ear, and it causes some problems. So their inner ear structure is like everyone's inner ear. So it's like these semicircular canals, which are in these frogs the smallest ever for adult vertebrates, which makes it very difficult for them to do what the inner ear is intended to do, which is balance you. So when they jump, it is kind of just like you're jumping on a hope and a prayer. There is no control after you leap. So the jump, they tumble through the air and roll on the ground. It is very funny to see it. There's no control at all. So what is it? How does a inner ear work? And why is it different for these guys? So these fluid-filled canals detect rotational movement. Each canal corresponds to a different plane of movement, horizontal, vertical, and lateral. When your head moves, the fluid inside these canals shifts and bends little hair cells that send signals to the brain about the direction and speed of the movement. It's kind of a genius little thing if you think about it. Like, it's this circular, like, canal thing partially filled with liquid. So if you move, the water or the liquid level changes and touches little hairs to tell your brain how you're moving.
How upside down you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I'm like 0% upside down.
Yeah, exactly right.
But if I did this, if I turned my head, I would be 7% upside down.
So their tiny ears come with a different problem too. So both male and female pumpkin toadlets make little calls, kind of like coquilles, but they're totally deaf to those calls. They cannot hear the frequency that the frog calling to them, they can't hear it. So despite producing like this soft cricket-like chirp to attract mates, they can't hear the attracting call. They are immune to the siren song.
That's so sad. Or good. I don't know. Now that you said siren, it's a little. Maybe it's good. Tie him to the mizzen mast.
So they think their inner ear is vestigial. In other words, it's there. It used to be more functional, but now it's reduced. They at one time had a functional inner ear, but they, through adaptation, have prioritized smallness to the point of being unable to use their inner ear, for whatever reason.
That's one of those things that just seems to fly in the face of, like evolutionary adaptation or survival of the fittest. Darwinianism there, where it's like I guess it's like you either are small, so you are harder to see and find and kill, but if you are so small, then you can't reproduce very easily. So staying alive and reproducing are the two things that most of the like evolutionary adaptations push species toward, and in this case it has to choose.
Well, like, so why did this happen? So one theory is that they're poisonous. They're so poisonous that the poison has allowed them to live a semi-charmed kind of life. Instead of hearing calls, researchers believe that they pay attention to visual cues of another toadlet calling, so they just kind of hobble around the forest out in the open looking for one another, and when they see one making the call, it looks, they move their body, open their mouth, or do the like inflating thing, the gullet inflation technique.
If do right, no can defend.
Yeah, the visuals are enough. They figure it out, and since they're extremely poisonous, they can hop and tumble and not be able to get anywhere very fast or very accurately, without really any fear of predators catching them and eating them, because they are so poisonous. I guess there are some birds that either die when they eat them or have figured out a way to eat them. That doesn't.
So, birds are notorious for being able to eat things that would kill other animals. So they eat a lot of toxic berries and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are some birds that have developed a digestive system that can handle the poison of a poison dart frog.
But yeah, like that's the whole. Poison dart frogs in general are very brightly colored. What is it? What is it? The term that like
apostematism.
Yeah, it's instead of like hiding, they're showcasing that the fact that like I'm here, I'm so brightly colored, I'm not even trying to hide, and there must be a reason for that. And the reason is if you eat me, you'll die. So they're able to survive without being able to hear each other or get around very efficiently.
It just seems like such an... I don't know how that would even happen. Like, how would a predatory species learn not to eat brightly colored frogs? Because every member that ate a brightly colored frog would die and would not be able to pass that learned behavior on to the next generation. So then... And also the frog dies. So, you haven't really saved yourself. You've saved maybe your posterity. So it's just like, I always wonder like how being poisonous is, how that ends up creating the relationship between predator and prey, where the predator understands that the prey is poisonous. Because the only way for a unreasoning animal to know if the frog is poisonous is to take a bite and then die. So
well, maybe you have to think about it on the macro level. So like, if you're looking at like a square footage of forest, a square acre of forest with a bunch of poison dart frogs, all the predators in that area that eat poison dart frogs die. And all the ones that are more wary and cautious in what they eat, and the brightly colored thing hopping around does not appetize them, live. So if you think about it one-on-one, it's like everyone dies. This is mutual assured destruction. Who's learning from this? But if you look at it from the macro level, the population level, then maybe it makes more sense.
So it's like a survivor's bias. Like, it's not that anybody learned. It's just that the only ones that are left are the ones that wouldn't have tried it in the first place.
Yeah, potentially.
I don't know if that could be the case. But I don't know. I feel like I would have to do some more research into... I need to do some more research into apostematism in the first place. Like, how does this behavior... Is it developed at all? Or, like you said, if you are an animal, if you're a lizard that eats small frogs, then you will thrive in an area where there are no poison dart frogs, and all of you will die in an area where there are poison dart frogs. And since there is naturally a greater volume of prey to predator, especially when it comes to like birth rates, then the poison dart frogs will survive the extinction event, and then there will just be poison dart frogs and no more lizards.
Mm-hmm.
But then you would just like, oh, there are no more members of this species of lizard in the Amazon basin, because if there were, they would try to eat a frog and they would die. And I don't. That isn't. I don't know about that. So my theory is that it's learned. I just have to figure out how.
There's a lot of mystery in nature where, like, how do things know? How do, like, animals that don't know anything know that? Like, how does a lizard who doesn't know anything other than instinct know not to eat certain things? I don't know.
But, like, if anything moves like a bug, they're going to eat the bug. In fact, there's that the Apomus beetle, which hacks a frog. It moves in a way that where if a frog doesn't eat the Apomus beetle larva, then there's something wrong with the frog. Like its instinct forces it to try and eat the bug. So that was really interesting to me. It's like, oh, it's not like they want to eat the bug. It's that, oh, it's their computer. It's just their bug must destroy, must eat. And then it ends up literally biting them back.
Well, mysteries.
Yeah, I'll do some more research maybe on the next episode where we have a postmotism going on. I'll have something to bring to the table next time we do some sort of like the blue ringed octopus or some brightly colored bug.
Okay, that's all I got.
So that was the pumpkin toadlet for you out there in Podcastia. Blend in with the fascist Fanta. Enjoy the detritus of the forest floor. And sing a song to your soulmate that they'll never hear. The sad pumpkin toadlet here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
The fascist Fanta frog.
At first that sounded like bad advice, but then I remembered Indiana Jones 3, and they blend in with the fascists in that movie.